Hello guys, it's another episode of Sports 101, and on this episode we would be looking into the weekend fixtures of the various leagues across the globe, especially the top 5 European leagues. And where best to start the conversation than the English Premier League? Lucky is here with me and we'll be having that conversation. Lucky. It's match week 2 of the Premier League, and then match week 1 of some of the major leagues.
Yes, in Germany, match
Europe.
week 1, in Italy as well, in the Serie A, match week 1. Exciting games coming up in all the league fixtures. But like you said, match week 2 in the English Premier League, it's beginning to up very well, especially after match week 1, where some teams shockingly drop points. Teams like Chelsea, Manchester United played very well, but they lost to Arsenal, as well as some pretty good games. Liverpool, leaving it late to beat Bournemouth. Manchester City laying down the gauntlet 4-0 against Wolves. But I mean, we get into match week 2, and also there are some tricky games starting off today, Sammy.
Yes, and there are some fixtures starting today, Friday. So we are having some fixtures that are kicking off the weekend on Friday in the Bundesliga as well as in the Premier League. And in the Premier League, yes, Chelsea did not have a good start to the Premier League season last weekend, dropping points at home against Crystal Palace. Friday, they have an opportunity to, go away to West Ham United, who surprisingly lost against Sunderland by 3-0.
Would you know that I wasn't really surprised that
maybe the margin
West Ham
of that
lost
defeat
to Sunderland, because I've seen the signings Sunderland have made this season, and they are in the top 5 teams in the Premier League that has spent a lot. So West Ham, Nottingham Forest, Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool, they are amongst those teams. So I wasn't really surprised that West Ham lost by that goal margin, because Sunderland had recruited some very good players like Granit Xhaka and other great players. But they welcome Chelsea at the London Stadium, and it's going to be a very fascinating one. Chelsea themselves did not have a good start to the season, coming up against a stubborn side like Crystal Palace. They could have lost that game if that goal from Eberechi Eze had stood. If you push me to the wall, I think that this game, Chelsea will not lose this game. So it'll probably be a Chelsea win or draw for me.
West Ham United will be playing at home in that game.
Yes.
And after suffering that heavy defeat at the Stadium of Light in Sunderland last weekend, obviously they'll be looking to get something from this game. It's their first home game of the season, so it's more like a London derby. So obviously they'll be looking to get 3 maximum points, or at least not lose the game. They've already lost Mohamed Kudus. They haven't started the season well. Some of the fans are not really enthusiastic about how the manager Graham Potter has set up his team. He's recently been playing a 3-back system. But Chelsea, on the other hand, will also be looking to get their first goal of the campaign, get their first 3 points of the campaign, going away at Crystal Palace. How exactly do you see Enzo Maresca against Graham Potter? How does he set up his team? Does he go with the same lineup he went? Last week against Palace, he went with João Pedro up top, and so there was Cole Palmer in that 10th position. It didn't really work out. Maybe it was because of how Palace set up their team. Is he supposed to make any changes? Does he stick to the same team? How do you see this game panning out?
Genuinely, I think that I don't think that he robbing so many changes in this team. If there's going to be any major change, it will probably be a tactical shift in the positioning of the players. He will probably be looking at bringing on somebody like Estevayo, who would probably start that game
ahead of
Gittins. I think that Estevayo will give you more instead of what if you look at what Gittins gave you Chelsea in the first half of that game, I think that I love what I saw from Estevao when he came on. I think that he gave much more than Gittins. But like I said, I don't think that he would tweak the team so much. I still expect that Kopama will still play in that 10 role and he will still start, João Pedro. I don't think that Liam Delap will start this game. And I'm expecting that, I've always said, if you have somebody who time and time again has proven that he can score, has proven that he can deliver, try and play for him or try and play through him. So if Chelsea can get that partnership between João Pedro and Cole Palmer going. I'm somebody that has not been so enthused about Pedro Neto. I think there's a lot of running, a lot of so many things he does on the pitch, but very little output from him. I'm expecting a lot from him against West Ham, but like you said, West Ham have also not started the season very well. They lost their first game at home. They would want to, do something, prove to their fans that, listen, we can bounce back, especially playing against Chelsea. So it's going to be an intriguing game. I don't expect, Graham Potter to tactically outweight, someone like Enzo Maresca, who has proven time and time again that when it comes to getting the pieces on the board right in terms of the tactics, I think that he can rub shoulders with some of the best out there in the world. Like I said, Chelsea will not lose this game. I can bet my odds on that Chelsea is not losing this game. The worst for Chelsea will be a draw.
What's your actual prediction for this game?
Chelsea win or draw.
Chelsea win or draw?
Yeah.
Well, if you ask me, I would say there will be at least 2 goals in this game. So I'm going over 1.5 here. I can't really stick my neck out for who exactly is going to be the winner, but obviously there will be goals in this game. But on Saturday, in early kickoff, Manchester City welcome
big
Spurs
game.
to the Etihad Stadium, and I am excited about this one. There's a myth about early kickoffs being very, very unpredictable.
A lot of teams don't like early kickoffs. So, a lot of teams are not really fascinated about it.
City were dominant in that game away at Wolves. It's their first home game of the season. Spurs also had a very, very good win in their opening game.
3-0.
And so, yes, both teams coming up against each other in that early kickoff. I think that the Spurs team look like a much more solid team that we saw last season. It's amazing what new management can do. A couple of new signings here and there, a little bit of tweaking in the system. They've brought in a very, very good manager, Thomas Frank, from Brentford, and he's started really well with this Spurs team. Coming up against Manchester City, who, a lot of people have not really given them that nod to go on and win the league, but they've started really, really well. We saw James Trafford start that game last week. I think that he would also be in goal again.
I'm hearing that Edison might just Edison had a slight injury.
There are rumors about him leaving the club.
Yes, as for those rumors, they are true. He's expressed interest to leave. Galatasaray are negotiating with City as well. So, but I'm hearing that he's recovered from his injury, that he might start. But whoever starts in for Manchester City, I don't think will be a problem. Either James Trafford or Edison, whoever starts, I don't think it will be a problem. Galatasaray also wants a player like Akanji. I don't think Akanji will start. I do not think that he will tweak so much the lineup he put out against Wolves. I think that the back four will remain the same in John Stones and Ruben Diaz with Aït-Nouri as left back and Rico Lewis at right back. I don't think the midfield is going to change because Rodri is not back, so it will still be Nico Gonzalez, who was brilliant on the day.
From his press conference, we understand that Phil Foden and Rodri have recovered from injury.
They will be part of the team, but Rodri will not
Maybe
start.
we might see him at some point in the game.
The mistake Pep Guardiola did was to try and force the return of Rodri in the Club World Cup, because when you have such an injury, you don't force it. You allow the player to go through it. And I don't think that he would want to risk Rodri earlier on in the season. There's nothing to lose. Just keep him on the bench, let him feel that atmosphere. I don't think he will start because Nico Gonzalez, Tijani Reinders were brilliant on the day in the middle together with, Oscar Bob. I think we might see the same lineup or the same setup. If there's going to be any slight changes, it will either be Mamouche coming in and all of that. But then again, these two sides know each other. It's like an Achilles. they are each other's Achilles here, especially Tottenham Hotspur has been a boogie side for Manchester City. But if you look at this City side, they are one of the teams that a lot of people are not so much looking at. But I think that they are a very solid team. At home, they will be very, very difficult for to beat. The worst for City will be a draw. Yes, you spoke about Spurs and the new breath of fresh air in the club, in Thomas Frank, Kudos, and some of these players that are in there. But I look at the attacking prowess of Spurs. They're a bit short-handed attacking wise. Yes, Kudos is a brilliant player. You do not want to bank your hopes on a player like Richarlison. For me, he scores one brilliant goal, goes dead for 8 months, come back, scores another brilliant goal, goes dead for a year. That's always been Richarlison. I don't know why they cannot get rid of him and bring in a proper striker. But you might see the same lineup from Tottenham Hotspur. But this time they will be a bit more defensive because City in their last 5 games have scored 21 goals. They are scoring goals for fun, and they've conceded very little goals as well. So they are very solid side. So I think that Spurs will be a bit cautious playing this game. But then again, I don't think City will lose this game. I think the worst for City will be a draw. So for me, City win or draw.
Well, Spurs are actually suffering from quite a number of injuries. We've seen, if you
James
look at the list
Maddison
there,
is
there's
out,
Madison is out. There's Dejan Kulusevski is also out. Udogie is also out, and so Bissouma is also out injured. And so they have a thin squad
That's true.
at the moment.
That's
And
true.
so save their first 11, it's difficult for them, but they have a solid midfield. If you see the combination of Sa together with Begva, there's also Palina has come into the team. There's Archie Gray as well, who is also in the team. Thomas Frank has started with a 3-back. He played a 3-5-2 in the previous game with Richarlison and Kudus playing up top, and we saw that partnership and then that understanding that they are creating for each other in that Spurs team. As a team that is really attacking, they are very quick, and when you compare with how Spurs played last season under Ange Postecoglou, with the high line and all of that, we're not seeing that again this season. And so Christian Romero and his friends at the back have that, they play a little bit closer to their box, and so there are not too many spaces behind the fullback and the center half for those through balls or those balls over the top, and it's something that they've worked on really well in preseason, and we saw them in the first game. City this time around will be a bigger test.
You don't want to do that against City because they have brilliant pacey wingers. Oscar Bob, very quick with the feet. If Doku also plays very quick on the feet, if Foden play, so you don't want to do that against City, especially when you do not have the best of defenders out there, or the best of a combination of your 3-back. Because when you play the 3-back, you need to have players who are very quick and very aware of their space.
They have Van de Ven, they have Kevin Danso, they have Christian Romero.
You don't want to do that against City. I think that if they dare try that against City in the first 30 minutes, they might be down by 2-0, and that would mean that they would have to find a way to claw back. And you don't want to be down at the Etihad in the first half or first 30 minutes, because, like I said, they have guys who know how to break the line with their passes. And when you play the 3-back, you need to ensure that it's difficult for players who can break these lines with their, like Tijani Reinders, like Oscar Bob. You saw the pass Reinders gave to Oscar Bob, then he squared the ball to Erling Haaland for their first goal. You do have, City have a lot of quality in them. So I would wish that he would quickly revert to a more defensive approach. I would prefer he plays a 5-back. When they lose possession, they revert to a 5-back. When they are in possession, that they could decide to go for a 3-back. Or so I would prefer he goes for a 5-4-1 with Richarlison up top, Kudus drop into midfield to help show up the midfield. But again, it's my opinion. Then again, whatever Spurs decide to throw up against City, I think that there's so much weakness in this Spurs team, and there's so much strength in the City team.
What is the weakness in the Spurs team?
One, their midfield. You compare the midfield of City to Spurs. City have a lot of controllers, a lot of progressors.
No, and who exactly are the controllers in that City midfield? You have a Tijani Reinders,
there's Nico Gonzalez.
Yes. And then who else is making? Rodri is out. Who else makes? Because look, the third person in there has to be the number 10. So it's either they are playing Mamouche, or they are playing Bernardo Silva, or they are playing Ryan Cherki. And these three guys don't usually drop deep in midfield, so it has to be the bulk of the work in midfield has to be done by Gonzalez and Tijani
And that was
Reinders.
what he did brilliantly well in that game against Wolves. And people spoke about the brilliance of Tijani Rangers, but one player that was very little that was spoken of very little is Nico Gonzalez. He held the fort very well, controlled very well. That's what literally allowed Reinders to be able to make those runs, then become that third man that drops, just in front of the box to play to have that link up play with either Oscar Bob or Ellen Haaland. Then also Bernardo Silva. Yes, he's aging, but when it comes to effectiveness and control, you can be well assured of that. So it was a midfield three of Nico Gonzalez who sat deep with Bernardo Silva and Reinders who could, alternate and go forward. We saw Reinders, have that freedom of playing in coach, become the new Gundogan. Exactly. He knows when to just drop in that position box and all that. So for me, I would still maintain Nico Gonzalez because he knows how to control the ball very well. If you watch his numbers against Wolves, he won 80% of his possessions on the ground. He recovered the ball very, very well. Compare this midfield to the Spurs midfield. The Spurs midfield is a much weaker midfield. Again, if you want players who can give you those passes and play within those tight spaces, Reinders does that very well, and Bernardo Silva does that very well as Oscar Bob does, but he does that very, very well. So then again, with Pep, you know how he is. He could ask Oscar Bob to again drop deep in midfield to shore up the numbers to give you a four-man midfield with also what's his
Jeremy
name?
Doku.
Jeremy Doku, or whoever decides to also drop into midfield because they've done that before to literally prevent Spurs from having any form of control. The good thing with City is that these guys are very versatile. Bob could play in the middle, he could play out wide. I've not seen Jeremy Doku play in the middle, but that's the versatility with Pep Guardiola and his signings. He loves players who can do a lot of things on the pitch. So for me, I think that um, Spurs are weak in the midfield. They are very strong in the defense, with Romero at the back and Victor Porro and all of that. But truth be told, I don't think Spurs. The City have had a boogie relationship with Tottenham Hotspurs over the years. But look at the Spurs teams that City have played over the years. They are totally different from this Spurs team. That's why I think that the worst for Manchester City will be a draw. But probability-wise, I'm looking at City winning this game 80%.
Well, if you are a punter, the obvious choice or the easy option is to go City win or draw. And that game actually is one of the games I'm really looking forward to this weekend. And but for me, if I have to make a prediction on this game, I would go Spurs over 0.5. Spurs to score, and they are the away team, so away team to get at least one goal. I'm not really going to stick my neck out for who is going to get 3 points or who's going to draw this game. I will just go for Spurs to get at
Spurs,
least
at
a
least
goal. I think Spurs will get at least a goal in the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we talk about the La Liga, one game I think a lot of people will be interested in is the Arsenal Leeds game. After they, holding their fort against Manchester United and picking a narrow win, they come back, to the Emirates Stadium at home, first game of the season at home against the Leeds side that also left it late, beating Everton by a goal to nil. So, I mean, how do you expect this game to go? I do not personally. I don't think that Arsenal will approach this game the same way they approached that United game. They will go all guns blazing. They will control the game and all of that. But how do you expect this game to pan out? I mean,
Well, Arsenal went with a different approach against United. United themselves, I'm sure we'll talk about them against Fulham on Sunday. But this time around, it's the curtain raiser for them at the Emirates. So there will be a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy from the fans, and all of that. It's a new season. They are walking into their home grounds already on 3 points after beating United. And so I think that Arteta would maintain the same lineup that he used against United. That's obviously the predictable lineup for Arsenal. When you
maybe
look
we
at
might see Julian Timber and
Jurgen Timber coming to the team,
Miles Lewis Kelly. They probably are the starters for this Arsenal side.
When Ben White started that game against United, so probably Timber will come on. He came on in the
Yes, he
second
came
half.
on the second
I,
because
I, I
he's
think
coming back from
we
injury.
might still see Calafiori start this
I
game
left back ahead of
at left back.
Scully.
Yes, he had a decent game against United.
Mm-hmm.
But in midfield, I will definitely see the usual suspects. There's Zubimendi, there's Rice, there's Odegaard. Up top for Arsenal, they play their usual Saka. Gokeres is in there, and then there's Martinelli. I don't know how early it is for Eberechi Eze, whether he's done signing his contract, whether that's been done with. But
He'll be
I
having
think
his medical on Monday,
yes.
hopefully.
Okay, then if that's the case, then he probably will just be at the stadium. He might not play. But if everything is sorted out before close of day and he's able to be registered in time for that game, obviously he's already fit. He's played a game this season against Chelsea. He's played the Community Shield against
He
Liverpool.
walks into this
He
team and he
walks into the
starts.
team and he starts. So I think it's competition because there's Martinelli,
Oh, he will
there's
start ahead of
also
Martinelli.
the former Chelsea player. What's his name again?
Noni Madueke.
Noni Madueke is also
He
there.
starts ahead of any of
And
them.
there's Leandro Trossard who can also play in that position. So Arsenal has fought for choices, but I think they have a very very solid
Straight
team.
win for you.
Obviously, when you look at Leeds United,
There will not be any surprise.
it's not a bad team. I think they had a good performance last week.
Yeah.
There's some changes in their squad. Some of the old suspects that we knew from their previous spell in the Premier League. There's James.
Yeah.
Is it James, the former
The
United
family,
player?
yeah, James, he's
James.
still in the team.
Yes, there's Nonto as well in that team. There's a couple of them. They're very, very pacey players.
Yeah, but they've
that-
also boosted their team with attack signing of Swiss forward Noah Okafor from AC Milan as well for 18 million. They've also brought in a couple of players,
brought in Sean Longstaff
Sean Longstaff and
from
all of that.
Everton.
But like you said, I don't think at Emirates this Arsenal squad looks very very strong. It will be probably the shock of the season if Arsenal drop points. Even if they draw this game, I think the Arsenal faithfuls will see this as a loss.
Leeds beat Everton in that first game of the season, but
even that penalty should not have stood. Again, the rules when it comes to the handball is a bit confusing. But again, I don't think that Leeds have enough in them to stop Arsenal from scoring more than 2 goals.
So you think straight Arsenal win?
Straight Arsenal?
I think straight Arsenal win as well.
Over 1.5.
Win over 1.5.
Yes, so I think Arsenal will score more than a goal and they will win this game.
Well, I think Arsenal will win. It's not so difficult in my opinion with the energy they're going with the first home game of the season. I think Arsenal have just a little bit too much for this Leeds United side, and I see them getting all 3 points. And another game will be previewing in the Premier League. It's on Sunday. That's the big one on Sunday. It's Fulham against United.
Very, very, very tricky game.
It's a tricky game.
Tricky because United last season did not fare well on the road, especially against these teams that it's so difficult to predict how they will approach this game. But teams like Fulham, teams like Crystal Palace, for me, they've proven that they are not really scared of the big boys. They will come out to play. They will not defend. They will just be themselves. And United, on the backdrop of a defeat, albeit a lot of people think that they played well. The manager himself has spoken about how well they played. But again, it's not about how well you play. It all boils down to the 3 maximum points. If United goes into this game and they lose this game as well, nobody will be talking about how well United, have played over the years, and or how well United played in that game. It's all about getting the win. So for me, I think that Manchester United should just focus on ensuring that they avoid defeat because they need to, as quickly as possible, get the win, on the board, especially on the road. Let people know that, hey, it's not about playing beautiful football. It's not about playing the best of or exciting football that will excite a lot of people. What I was impressed about Manchester United was the seamlessness with which players like Mbeumo and Cunha have settled into the team. That's the good thing about signing a player who already plays in the Premier League because it's so easy. They are used to it. And these guys have proven that they can do it on any good day. And we saw Cunha, one of the, when he gets going, when he's accelerating, it's very difficult to pick out or stop. And so for me, it's going to be exciting. It's really going to be exciting, and I'm hoping. I don't know. I don't think that Ruben Amorim will change. I mean, from how he set his team up, the 3-5-2 with the usual wing backs and all that. I don't think that he's going to change. What I want to see is there going to be a change in the midfield partnership, or we're still going to see Casemiro in the middle of the park, Bruno Fernandes, literally playing alongside Casemiro? For me, is a waste of his talent, or he's going to bring in Ugarte to start or partner Casemiro. What I'm so interested in is that midfield partnership, because if United don't get it right, we've seen Fulham, they know how to punish teams. Last season, they beat Manchester United at Old Trafford. So it's going to be an interesting game. I really want to see the kind of midfield partnership that Manchester United will put up in this game. But then again, if you push me to the wall, I think that United will not lose this game. Is
Look,
United win or draw?
I think it's a very difficult game for Man United. The last season there wouldn't have been so much confidence, but seeing how United played against Arsenal, probably there would be some encouragement. I think that Amorim probably might make just about one change. That one change definitely has to do with the introduction of Benjamin Sesko. I am
Do you think he'll
expecting that
start
he
this game?
starts the game. He's had extra time on the training ground with the team, so yes, his fitness levels will be up. United need to start scoring goals.
If Sesko starts, who is dropping onto the bench?
I don't
Because
think there will
we
be any
saw
change in midfield. I
we
think we'll
saw
still see Bruno and
Cunha,
Casemiro
we saw Cunha and
in Burma.
Mbeumo in this game. We saw Mason Mount in a way play as a false nine or as a nine in that game. But he's very versatile. Sometimes you see him in midfield, but so who drops to the bench? Mount?
One of them, probably Mount, might drop to the bench. I
Because I
think
don't
he's one
think
of the hardest
I don't
workers.
think Mbeumo
No,
would start off from
no,
the bench. I don't
I
think
don't think
Cunha is
Cunha.
starting from the bench.
Yes,
It probably might be Mount.
probably might be
Yeah.
Mount. He's one of the hardest workers in that team, but he might be the one that
To
would be
sacrifice.
sacrificed. I don't think Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes, there will be any change to that in the team. The back line, I'm thinking we might see the same team. We might see Diogo Dalot start ahead of Ahmad in that position. He might come on in the second half. But up top, I think Sesko would start, very likely, and it might just be Mason Mount that would be sacrificed. But if United play as well as they did against Arsenal, I'm expecting that United can win this game, but it'll be very difficult because look, if you look at the team that Fulham have, there's Calvin Bassey at the back who is been a thorn in the
Solid.
flesh for United. He's got a goal against United in a couple of
Last season
years.
as well, he
Last
scored. Yeah.
there's a they have a Sanderberg
Yeah.
in midfield. There's Iwobi, there's Josh King, there's Harry Wilson, and then the new signing. Jimenez, I think he came in last season from Wolverhampton, and so Fulham are not that simple or ordinary team that you can walk over.
That's true.
They had a late equalizer against Brighton in the first game away from home,
Yeah.
and that goal came from Muniz, I think,
Yeah.
in the 90 something minutes. And so it's a team that are riding on confidence. It's their first home game of the season. United going away from home. Last season, United couldn't even get back-to-back wins in the league in all 38 games. No back-to-back wins. Away from home, it was difficult for the team. So this time around, I'm sure we will see a very, very balanced game. But again, all the spotlights will be on how well United play. United, yes, can win the game, but if we are judging based on recent trend, then you would say that it will be a very, very close game. I think there will be goals in this one. I think United will get a goal or two here, but as to whether the defense can keep a clean sheet with whether it's Bayender in goal or Onana returns for the team, we cannot really tell. But for the United fans, I'm sure they'll be optimistic that United can also at least get something from the game and then kickstart the campaign.
Okay, so I mean, that's our weekend fixture or prediction update right here on Sports 101. Is the EPL coming up on Friday, starting today, actually, Friday. Chelsea on the road to West Ham. Manchester City as well will be taking on Tottenham Hotspurs. Manchester United will be at Craven Cottage to take on Fulham, as well as, there are some interesting games. Arsenal will be taking on Leeds United at the Emirates Stadium. Liverpool on Monday will take on Newcastle. It's a very, very, very tricky game, and on
Very, very
Monday,
tricky game. But that game is one that I think
I'll be looking forward to seeing that game.
we're looking for,
I'll
because
be
look,
looking forward to seeing
um,
that game.
Liverpool would be going away to the St. James's Park, and you can expect a lot of hostility from the Newcastle fans. You can expect to see one or two banners there
Yeah.
concerning Alexander Isak
Yeah.
and whatever the issue is. I think it's going to be a game that is just more than 3 points.
Yeah.
It'll be much more than 3 points. And I'm really, really looking forward to how that game plays out. Obviously, Liverpool are favorites for this one, but I'm thinking there will be a lot of pride on the line.
Yeah. There'll be a lot of storylines as well. Will Isak, wherever he'll be watching the game from, because he's not training with Newcastle, neither is he with Liverpool. Whatever he will be doing, I'm sure he will have a keen eye on this game. Lot of storylines. Will Isak, be excited if Newcastle beat Liverpool? Will Isak be excited if Liverpool beat
Who will be supporting
Newcastle?
the team that he's going
Yes,
to sign
exactly.
for?
Who would he be supporting, all of that? But I think that on the day it's going to be a difficult game. We know that, take away Crystal Palace, take away Aston Villa, Newcastle is amongst those teams that is a thorn in the flesh for any of the top sides in the league, and on any given day, on any good day, they'll be able to beat any of the teams. They still do have Bruno Gomes in there. There's Anthony Gordon in there. There's Harvey Barnes in there. There's good old Eddie Howe, who has proven that he's a very good manager when it comes to the Premier League. So it's going to be exciting. Again, I would really want to see how Anslot approach this game, because Jeremy Frimpong is out injured, and he'll be out for a while. And I want to see who will be stepping in. Is it going to be Joe Gomez or whoever he decides to play in that role? But I saw a lot of weaknesses in the Liverpool team, and we've spoken extensively about it. The defense, there's a lot of problem with that Liverpool defense. If they are not able to correct it, we know the pace that the Newcastle attackers come with. Harvey Barnes, Anthony Gordon, they are very pacey. The strength of Joelinton, a striker who's been converted into a midfielder. We know Bruno Gomes. There's still Tonali in there. Newcastle do have a solid side. The one problem, or their problem, will be who puts the ball at the back of the net, because Callum Wilson is gone. Who is that guy they will be playing for? Who is that guy they will be looking up to score the goals? But hey, they still do have goals in some of the players that I've mentioned, in Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon. But it's going to be a very, very difficult game for both teams. I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle, notch one over Liverpool, because
as well.
yes, they've signed Anthony Elanga, another pacey winger. So the fullbacks of Liverpool would have a lot of work on our hands. We saw Keke struggle against Bournemouth. We saw Jeremy Frimpong, when he goes up top in attack, his recovery rate is not so much great and all of that. So can they manage or handle, the wingers or the attackers of Newcastle? Like I said, I won't be surprised if Newcastle get a win over Liverpool, primarily because of the frailties of Liverpool's defense. So if you push me to the wall, I think that Newcastle win or draw, Sammy.
Newcastle win or draw?
Yeah.
Or Liverpool win or draw?
No, Newcastle win or draw. I don't think Newcastle and Liverpool are winning this game.
Interesting, at the St. James's Park.
At the St. James's Park.
Well, they went away from home to get the point against Aston Villa. So
very difficult grounds.
Very difficult grounds. And so that will be a very, very interesting game on Monday. But let's move to the La Liga.
Yeah.
And the La Liga is entering match day 2.
Match week 2 as well. Exciting fixtures in there.
Atletico Madrid.
Atletico are very.
They lost their first goal,
they are very annoying side to talk about. Like, we've spoken about them a couple of times ago, why and how they lost that game against Espanyol. Only God can tell. And by this time, they are playing at the Wanda Metropolitan at home against, their teaming fans and supporters.
Against us.
I do not think that, Diego Simeone can afford to lose this game against Elche, newly promoted side, back in the league. So I think that Atletico does have too much firepower. They've signed, Raspadori, Retegui. They do have, Corandes, who was brilliant on the day for them in midfield. They do have too much quality. There's, for me, one of the best players currently in La Liga, in Julian Alvarez, in there. There's Antoine Griezmann. There's so much firepower Atletico have not to win this game. I will be super, super, super surprised if Elche is able to pick anything from this game. I think that is a straight win for me. Atletico win, straight win.
I agree. I think it's a straight win for Atletico, but there's also Barcelona against Levante.
Yeah.
Barca going away to Levante. Levante were unlucky to lose their first game against Deportivo Alaves. A late goal in the 90th minute. And so they lost by 2-1. But they're playing home against a solid Barcelona side that won their first game of the season. The lineup for Barca, very, very predictable. We are definitely going to see Rafinha together with Lamine Yamal and
I don't think that he will change a lot from the team against Mallorca. I think that we might see the same lineup.
Maybe Rashford might start.
Femi Lopez up front. You gotta go in there. Ferran Torres up front. Sorry, you gotta go in there. Lamine Yamal on the right. Rafinha on the left with Femi Lopez. Playing in that. Dani Omoro with obviously the usual suspect in Frankie De Jong and Pedri. Manning or holding fort in defense. Jules Koundé will be at right back. Alejandro Balde will be at left back. Then that partnership between Kobasi and Araujo that was effective in that game. So I don't think that. And if you watch Hansi Flick, he rarely changes sides. Even in preseason, he was literally playing his best 11. So I don't think that the Hansi Flick, I know he will do a lot. But he's coming up against a very tricky manager in Julian Calero, who has been with this Levante side for quite some time. He knows this team in and out. But then again, Levante is also coming from coming from division, the Secunda division.
Yeah.
They're just being promoted. They lost their first game, but at home they will be they're so awkward. They're an awkward side.
Levante.
Very, very defensive in their approach, but they know how to possess the ball very well. They're also a very quick counter-attacking side, And so if I were Barcelona, I'll be very cautious. But we've seen time and time again, unless you have players who can break the line. I keep talking about passes that is able to break the line, because when you set up the way Barcelona does set up with the high line, you need to have players who are running in behind that, whatever, high line Barca has set, and you have players who can put in the right pass at the right time. Does Levante have that quality? No. We've seen even Real Madrid struggle. We've seen even Inter Milan struggle, even though albeit they did get goals with against Barcelona. We've seen Bayern Munich struggle. So it's not an easy thing to do when you have a team that knows how to do what they know how to do best. And so it's going to be difficult for me to see Barca lose this game. But hey, it's football. You may be surprised that it's one of those days that everything will go up against Barcelona. It will not go well for them, but I don't think that is that day tomorrow. Against Levante, I think that the worst for Barcelona again will be a draw. But for me, if you push me, it's a straight win for Barcelona.
I think Barca will go away and get 3 maximum points at Levante, but Real Madrid, on the other hand, are also going away from home. They are without Endrick, Jude Bellingham, Eduardo Camavinga.
Why did you even mention Endrick's name?
They are without these guys. We saw how Real Madrid struggled in that first game of the season. It took a Kylian Mbappe penalty for them to get 3 maximum points. Currently 8th after match week 1 in the La Liga, 3 points. But going away to Real Oviedo, it's a newly promoted side, and I'm sure when you look at the teams or the players available to the coach Jabi Alonso, obviously Tchouaméni, Valverde, Aragula in that midfield as he did last week. Vinicius Junior's form has been in question, and there's been talks about him being shipped out. If the
Moving to
right
Saudi
offer
Arabia.
comes for him, he would be moved. And so I don't know whether this is an opportunity for him this season to stake his claim as the big boy in that Real Madrid team, or if things don't really work out well for him, or let's say he has a bad game this weekend, the transfer window is still about a week away. If the right offer comes, do Real Madrid allow him go?
I think that for Real Madrid, listen, any big boy would want to play for Real Madrid. And Real Madrid have lost some of the best players in the world. They don't mind letting Ronaldo go. They didn't mind letting Raul go to Stuttgart. Real Madrid have lost some of the best players. Vinicius is not anywhere close to some of the players that Real Madrid have let go. And so, if the Florentino Perez that I know, he'll be willing to cash out big and cash out big. If you pay the right, price or the right, money for his players, he will let you go. And for me, the good thing is that these players all have, if you play for any Spanish, you do have a release clause or you do have a buyout clause. So if any team comes and meets the buyout clause or release clause of any of these ones, but I don't think that for the sake of whatever Vinicius Junior wants to prove to the world, moving to Saudi Arabian club or any other club would be the best thing for him. I saw Real Madrid against Osasuna. Like during our preview and like I've been saying, Real Madrid will struggle a lot this season because they are trying to adapt to whatever Xavi Alonso does with this team. We know Xavi Alonso, the typical 3-5-2 formation. In that game against Courtois, he decided to go for what Real Madrid are used to, the 4-3-3 with
4-3-3.
a front three of
Yeah.
Brahim Diaz, Kylian Mbappe and
Vinicius.
Vinicius, with Kylian Mbappe playing through the middle. Sometimes he and Brahim Diaz will interchange, like you said, Valverde, Chouameni, and Adegola. I was a bit surprised that even in Brahim Diaz's worst form, he didn't bring on, Rodrigo. Clearly, from day one, since Xavi Alonso walked into this team, he has made it clear with his
Do you
actions
see
that
that transfer happening?
I think that if I think that it might happen. It
Where
might
does he
happen
go?
on the last day. He might probably move to Liverpool. I've always said time and time again, Rodrigo is one of the most overrated players in the world. He's played under close to 4 different managers at Real Madrid. He's won everything there is to win in club football. But I know I keep saying he has never in his career scored 20 plus league goals, 15 plus league goals. He gives you moments. That's the thing with Rodrigo. In a Champions League, he will come up big, give you that moment. But consistency has been his problem because you can't tell me it is by sheer luck to have a player under 4 different managers. He cannot command a starting bed. It's not sheer luck. For whatever he does, he'll give you those moments. He'll give you that Rodrigo moment against City back to back in the Champions League. He'll give you that Rodrigo moment against Chelsea in the Champions League. But can he do it over the course of 38
Could
games?
it be that because of the team he plays for, maybe if he were to be in a different team, he could give you
That is
a
it.
bigger
Maybe if
contribution?
he were in a different team, he will not even be spoken about as we speak about him that he's the ish. But I think that he's not the ish because clearly, if Xavi Alonso is choosing Ada Güler over Rodrigo, he's choosing Brahim Diaz over Rodrigo. Come on, that should tell you something. And for me, I think that going forward, this Real Madrid team is looking beyond a player like Rodrigo. And as such, if you watch how he's been able to set his team up, I think that he will slowly integrate a player like Franco Mostintano into this team. He will even start ahead of Rodrigo. This Real Madrid team will eventually become better, but not this season. They will struggle this season. It will not just be against Osasuna, against teams like the boogie sides, Osasuna, Mallorca, Espanyol. Real Madrid will struggle because, like I've said, this team is built as a transition team. Very, very good on the counter. Very quick Vinicius, very quick Kylian Mbappe. Valverde himself, he's able to progress the ball very well. If Camavinga plays, one of the best progressors of the ball. That's how this team has been built over the years under successive managers. They are not a possession-based football where you should be able to position yourself and the ball will find you. Then Xavi Alonso is trying to transition this team into that, and it will take some time. So I wasn't surprised that they struggled against Osasuna at home, but I don't think that a Real Oviedo side will be able to take out Real Madrid Madrid. It will
Well,
be
it looks
it will
like
be the ninth wonder or the eighth wonder
you
of the
never know.
world.
It's football. Anything is possible. But obviously, Real Madrid are
Over
favorites. But
1.5.
over the course of the season, I'm still not convinced about this Real Madrid side. I look at the team and I've watched them play, and I think there's still a lot of work to be done. Madrid themselves have not really been so active in the transfer market. They did a lot of early business.
Yeah.
They haven't signed
They
attacking
brought in
players.
Carreras from Benfica. Yeah.
But you know, they have the talented one, the one who his name escapes me, the one we saw at the Club World
At the
Cup.
Club World Cup,
Yes,
Garcia. Yeah.
Garcia. Yes,
Yeah.
he's another
Gonzalo Garcia.
fine striker.
Yeah.
But you know, if you take out Vinicius Junior from his position, you struggle to find who can fit in well in that role. If you take out Brahim Diaz and you look at the bench of Real Madrid, compare with what some of the other teams that their close competitors have,
Like it's true. I'm going through
I
the.
think Real Madrid look a little bit lightweight in my opinion. Maybe we might see one or two transfers this season, and the reason I'm saying that is because it's Real Madrid, and they have Champions League football to play. So it's not just the league, it's not just the Copa del Rey. They have Champions League football as well. So I think Alonso has his work cut out for him. We saw how they struggled against Osasuna at home in the first game of the season. Maybe the team will gradually pick up, but Barcelona will not give you that opportunity to pick up. You saw how Barca were emphatic
They've kicked
in
off
that
from where
first
they
game
left
of
off
the
last season.
I think
Yeah.
they will do the same against
If they catch the small
Levante.
boys there, they will
Yes,
beat them by
so
4
for
5,
Real
3 4
Madrid,
5. Yeah.
I'm hoping that they can find their rhythm. Alonso can find exactly what works for the team because he tried some things at the Club World Cup. We didn't really see it work that well. We've seen him make one or two changes. Vinicius himself has not really been in fine form. So for Real Madrid, I think they are a little bit behind when it comes to how ready they are for the season. But this is Real Madrid. They always find a way around getting the results. But in that game against Real Oviedo, I think that they'll get 3 maximum points.
Quick fire on the La Liga games. Real Sociedad at home to Espanyol. Quick fire. Who
Sociedad
wins?
wins.
Sociedad
I think
straight
Sociedad
win.
straight win.
Okay, Villarreal at home to Girona. Very, very tricky game.
Girona are not a bad side at all. Villarreal themselves had a decent season last season.
They won their opening game
They
by
won
2
their
goals to
opening
0.
game, and I would go over 1.5
Over
in that game.
1.5
Yes.
in that game. So these are some of the fixtures in the La Liga for you. What are your predictions? My guys have predicted straight. If you know, if you're a punter or if you're somebody who loves to make some money, you can, follow the prediction. We're predicting Real Madrid straight win, Barcelona straight win, Villarreal home or draw, Atletico Madrid straight win. So however you choose to decide to go, hey, keep and let us know in the comment section. And what do you make of the team so far in the La Liga? Basami,
Yes.
the Italian Serie A is kicking off this weekend. Some interesting games in the Serie A as well. So at exactly 4:30, Cagliari will take on Fiorentina. Como will welcome Lazio. Atalanta will take on Pisa, newly promoted Pisa. Juventus will take on Parma. That's on Sunday. On Saturday, these are some games also at 4:30. Genoa will take on Lecce. The champions, Napoli, will travel all the way to Sassuolo to take on Sassuolo. Milan welcome another newly promoted side, Camoranesi. AS Roma, I think, will take on Bologna. That's the big game for me on Saturday. But let's pick on some of the games. So, Sassuolo at home to Napoli, Sammy.
Look, it's a simple win for Napoli, in my opinion.
think so?
I think so. Look, in their last four meetings, Napoli have beaten and beaten and beaten Sassuolo home and away, wherever they've met. And this Napoli side they're obviously champions, and then they'll be looking to build on what they did last season. They brought in Kevin De Bruyne in that
but
midfield.
remember,
So
Lukaku is out.
he's out, so we might see Lorenzo Luca come into the team. Now, when you look at Lobotka sitting at the base of that midfield, and you have a midfield of McTominay, Kevin De Bruyne, Guiza, Politano, these guys.
They do have a decent,
they
a
have a
pretty,
very
decent side.
And
Yeah.
so I think that when you look at this Napoli team, they are good enough to retain the Scudetto. I think they're that good, especially with the coach that they have,
Antonio Conte.
Antonio Conte. If they can start the season really well, they can, shrug off competition from Inter, which I think is their closest rival. Juventus were not so impressive last season. Maybe this season they might be better, but I don't think it's a competition. It's a straight win for Napoli. If you want to play it safe, we can say a Napoli away win or draw, but I think it's a straight win for
Straight win.
Napoli.
Oh, let me have your take on this one as well. For me, a very tricky game. AS Roma will be taking on, Bologna. Roma having brought in, Gasperini from
Yeah,
Atalanta. We know Gasperini, very, very attacking
yeah,
minded manager. He also loves to play the three back with five midfield, with wing backs and all of that. We saw what he did with Atalanta, leading them all the way to the Europa League final and winning it against, Bayern Leverkusen. He's moving from Atalanta to AS Roma to pick up an AS Roma side that we know that they are one of the big spenders in the Italian Serie A.
yeah.
They love to spend, but there are also players who have been with this team for a while. They do have, Stefan El Shaarawy still in there. They have Nico Pisilli in there. They have Iberima Dabo in there. They still
It's still Dybala in the
yes,
team.
there's still Paulo Dybala. They have Lorenzo Pellegrini, who for me, if not for injuries, would have been AS Roma, one of the best players for AS Roma last season. The attackers, that's where they're a bit, short-handed. They signed the Irish international from, Brighton,
Yeah,
Ivan
Ferguson,
Fernandez. They also have brought in, Aston Villa's, Jamaican player Leon
Leon Bailey.
Bailey as well. So they do have, some new look attack in there, but they're coming up against a very, unusual Bologna side. Where do you see, this game, going?
Well,
Roma, Bologna.
Roma might have made some signings. Leon Bailey has been signed, but he's not going to be available
Yeah,
because
he's
he's
injured.
injured.
Yeah, yeah.
There's Evan Ferguson leading the lines. You look at the Roma team. Dybala is still there. They still have Matthias Sule in that team, but if you look at it from the head-to-head point of view, this is a team that Roma actually struggles against. Last season, they were held to a 2-2 draw at the Stadio Olimpico. They went rather at Bologna, and then they lost by 3 goals to 2 at home
Stadio
against
Olimpico.
Bologna.
Bologna.
And Bologna was one of those teams that
They're very
had a very,
exciting
very
style to
good
play. Yeah,
season
yeah.
in the Italian Serie A last season. So I think it's going to be another difficult game. It's not a straightforward game for AS Roma. First game of the season. Yes, you're playing at home, but if you compare with what Bologna have, I think that Bologna might just get something from this game. If Roma get to win this game, it will be very, very slim. So I think Bologna might get
Yeah,
something.
inching towards Bologna.
But if you look at it from the point of view of stats and all of that, as I said, there's always been goals in this fixture. So where I'll be comfortable with sticking my head out has to be the goals. I think we will see some goals. Over 2.5, over 1.5, there will definitely be goals in this game. So if you're a Panther, you can decide to go for goals. I think it will be an entertaining game with a couple of goals. So for me, I can't really predict where this game would go directly because I think they are two very, very evenly balanced
Yeah,
teams.
yeah, yeah.
I one isn't superior to the other. Maybe as the season progresses, with form guide and then injuries and all of that, and then the teams picking up form, we might see one get better than the other. But as the first game of the season, sometimes it's really difficult to predict how new tactics. They have new coach. Roma has a new coach, new tactics, and then new players. How they are integrated into the side. It's really difficult to predict. So I would rather go for goals this one.
Okay, so AC Milan will be coming up against Camoranesi at the San Siro, and Massimiliano Allegri is back. Good old Massimiliano Allegri. If there's one thing about the Italian Serie A that you need to love and you'll be excited about is the merry-go-round when it comes to managers and coaches. I mean, they don't mind. Today, one manager will be coaching this team and he doesn't mind moving to their rivals. That's the exciting thing. Allegri has coached Juventus. He's back at AC Milan, having achieved a lot of success. AC Milan first game of the season against Cameroonese, who are just being promoted into the side. They do have some crop of exciting new players in there. There's Alexis Salamakas, the Belgium international. There's Luka Modric from Real Madrid. There's still Robin Loftus-Cheek in there. They do have Yassin Deli in there. There's Ismail Benacer from Algeria. So AC Milan does have some household names that a lot of us are used to. Typical Maximiliano Allegri, he usually goes for the 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 formation. I don't think that he would change or deviate from that. Yes, they've lost Okafor, but I think that Milan does have enough quality in attack to be able to breeze past Cameroonese, who are just tasting the Serie A for the first time. They do still have the Nigerian Chukwueze in there. There's Alex Jimenez in there. There's Christian Pulisic, one player I think, if he decides to be serious with his football, Sammy, he'll be one of the unplayable players in the world. Is Rafael Leao. I think he's too relaxed and he's too comfortable where he finds himself. He finds himself at probably a Madrid, Barcelona, City, United, Liverpool, a team or a place where you feel challenged. I think Rafael Leao will be a world beater. But when I watch him, yes, he plays football with a smile on his face, but very brilliant player, chooses when to play football. But if you look at the players on display for Milan, I think Milan will be too difficult for Cameroonese to stop. I would be very surprised, if Allegri loses or draws his first game. I think AC Milan straight game. Another game that will be a welcome party for a newly promoted side will be Atalanta against Pisca in the Atalanta. Live after Gasperini will be hosting Pisca at Bergamo. I don't know.
On Sunday.
Yes, I don't know whether Lukman will stay or not because he's been pushing for a move, but he's been very professional about this. He's training with the team, but he's still pushing for a move. Inter are trying, but it looks very difficult. But they'll be taking on Pisca.
With all the experience they have, I would expect that it's a home game. I would expect that Atalanta should get this one over the line. The newly promoted side is, how do you call them?
Pisca.
I haven't seen much of them. I don't really know much about them. And so usually when these new teams come into the top division, they're excited about it. They just want to prove themselves. But Atalanta, with all the experience, I doubt if we might see Ademola Lookman in this game. There's been a lot of speculation about his future with Atalanta. Whether he's leaving the club, whether he's staying. I don't think he will stay. He already had some confrontations with Gasperini last season, but he's not there anymore. And so I was hoping that he would have been able to iron out issues with the hierarchy and whichever new coach has come into the fold. But we are still hearing speculations around him. He's a top player.
Yeah, Inter brought their first bid, it was rejected.
Yes,
he's actually
the amount
pushing
we are
for a
hearing,
serious move,
it's not really so high when you look at some of the figures we are hearing in
Italian football, they
in
don't
the
have
transfer
money.
market. And so if he moves to Inter, good for him. But I think usually when players have a lot of speculation around their future, we don't really get to see them play. It's just a few committed ones that put their head down and then get to work and play, like we've seen Eberechi Eze do for Crystal Palace. And he knew he was leaving, but he still had that game against Chelsea. So I think it's going to be a straight win for Atalanta. If we are going to see any surprises, I don't think it might be the first weekend of the season. Maybe going forward, yes, we might get to see one or two upsets. But Atalanta playing at home in Bergamo against the newly promoted side, a straight win for them.
One game, if you're a follower of Italian football, you know that this game is one of the biggest derbies in Italy. Is Juventus taking on Parma, in there, and these two sides know each other pretty well. The game is happening at the Allianz Stadium in Torino, and referee Matteo Mackenaro will be in the middle of the pack to ensure that this game goes on successfully. Juventus have scored 8 goals in their last 5 games, and they haven't kept a clean sheet in their last 6 games. Also Parma, they've scored 6 goals in their last 5 games, but defensively they are very, very strong. They haven't lost any game in their last 5 games. Juventus does have, their manager, Igor. He's a Croatian, Igor Tudor, in there. They do have, a couple of exciting players in their fold. There's Jonathan David. They signed
There's
Jonathan David
Conceição as well.
from Leo. Yes, there's Fabio Maretti. There's Nicolas Gonzalez from Argentina. There's Dusan Vlahovic, who I'm surprised that a lot of teams did not come for him. But hey, Juventus, I mean, will be taking on Parma. It's like a Turin derby. These
It's
two
a derby
sides
game.
know each other. And Parma is also a newly promoted side. But Parma knows the Serie A very well because they've been going and coming, going and coming. They've been out for a while now,
Yeah.
but they're back.
Yeah, but they were there last season. They came last season, and they actually gave Juve a hard time because they had one win and they drew the other one. So Juventus didn't beat Parma last season.
So it's going to be a tough
It's
game.
a tough game. Juve themselves didn't really have a good season last season. And so with all the names you've mentioned and then the quality that they have, one exciting player I mentioned, Conceição, very, very brilliant, diminutive kind of player. He plays from the
He's
right
a
hand side.
Portuguese Chico Conceição.
Yes. And so I'm thinking that this season he would have a better season than he did last season because he was one of the bright spots for Juve last season. Vlahovic, I don't know why we are not hearing his name so much in the transfer market.
2 seasons ago, he was
Exactly.
He was
So
one of the top strikers.
maybe because of the season Juve had last season. So he has another opportunity to prove himself. It's a World Cup year, remember. So a lot of players have a lot of talking to do on the pitch. But Juventus against Parma, I think it's going to be another close game. It's a derby match. If I have to go for this one, I'll go Juve win or draw, just for the sake of the fact that Juve are playing at home. It's the first game of the season. Parma are no pushovers, especially for Juventus. Maybe any other team, but against Juventus, they seem to find their mojo. But in that game on Sunday, I think that Juve might just get something from the game.
So, according to Sami, my colleague here, he believes that Juve might just get something from this game. I think that if you push him, he might probably go for a Juventus win or draw, just because they are playing at home. But so these are predictions for the Italian Serie A. Atalanta straight win for Atalanta, straight win for AC Milan. Sami went for a straight win for Napoli. I usually love to sit on the fence, so Napoli win or draw there. But it's exciting times in the Serie A as it kicks off. Inter are playing Torino on Monday as well. I think that these two sides know each other very well. If you push me to the wall, Inter, win or draw. But then again, let us know your thoughts in the comment section. This has been our extensive preview of some of the games in the various leagues across Europe, especially the top 5 leagues. We've done the English Premier League, the Spanish La Liga, and the Serie A as well.
But again, before you wrap up, Lucky, Bayern Munich have a game.
Oh yeah, yes. Bayern is the first game of the German Bundesliga against RB Leipzig, who have lost a couple of players in there. They've lost Benjamin Sesko. They are likely to lose Xavi Simons. Bayern Munich as well. Yes, they've let go of Leroy Sané, but I think that Bayern Munich too strong. Yes, Thomas Muller retired and all of that, but Bayern Munich does have a lot of quality. Mikel Olise, we saw them in the Club World Cup. We saw the quality Bayern comes with. We saw them beating, Stuttgart, albeit, it was a difficult game in the DFB Pokal final, more or less like the Community Shield, a precursor to the start of the season. As always,
they have signed Luis Diaz.
They've signed Luis Diaz as well. So they've bolstered their team, even though they've lost a couple of players. That's why I think that at the Allianz Arena, it's a straight win for Bayern Munich. When the league season starts, going all out for teams like that is very tricky because teams will be a bit cautious and all of that. But at the Allianz Arena, I don't think that Leipzig could pose too much of a stress. Too much of trouble to Bayern Munich. I think Bayern Munich should be able to do this. Vincent Kompany's side should be able to set the ball rolling this evening when it comes to the German Bundesliga.
Erik ten Hag gets his first taste of German football. Not really his first spell, but as the coach of Bayer Leverkusen against Hoffenheim. Um, Leverkusen themselves have not really had a good preseason. They've not been so impressive. Their fans,
They've been a Ten Haggish team.
yeah, but when the league season starts, it's an opportunity for a fresh start. So forget about preseason and all of that. It's a new start against Hoffenheim at home at the Bay Arena. So I'm sure the Leverkusen fans would be looking or be optimistic about life after Jabi Alonso. Eric Ten Hag has taken the hot seat, and so we're looking forward to seeing how that game plays out on Saturday against Hoffenheim.
Hoffenheim.
So I can't predict how it goes. As I said, it's the first game of the season. Bundesliga is one of those leagues that you see a lot of goals in their games. So probably we're going in for games, but I think that
let's do a quick fire.
There's talk about them losing the Nigerian striker Victor Boniface.
Victor Boniface. Yeah, it's not that there's talk. It's actually happening.
It's a loan deal.
Yes, it's a loan deal with an option to buy. I think 25 million euros, an option to buy. They will lose him. AC Milan, everything has been agreed. He's yet to have his medical, so he might not play for AC Milan this weekend. But I'm very certain that he'll be in Milan. Hopefully next weekend we'll see Victor Boniface in the shirt.
So likely to see Patrick Schick lead the lines for Leverkusen.
We are likely to see Patrick Schick lead the line. But Sammy, quick fire before we leave. Dortmund on the road to St. Pauli. Who wins this?
Goes again for me over 2.5. Dortmund are very, very unserious. They're one of those teams that I will not bet on. Very unpredictable team. They can give you a 5-star performance this weekend, and then the following week they lose at home. And so Borussia Dortmund last season especially were not too impressive for me. If you look at how well they played or where they ended the Bundesliga last season, you realize that Dortmund are supposed to be up there competing for the Bundesliga. If they were to be playing in a different competition, I'm sure they would have been battling relegation. So I would not stick my head out for Borussia Dortmund. I would rather look at it in terms of goals for that game. They're going away to St. Pauli.
Yeah, finally, Frankfurt, an exciting team last season. They've lost Umar Mamouche. They've lost, Ekitike. I don't know the shape of the team this season going into the season, but they'll be welcoming, Bremen. Again, we are doing some picks in the German Bundesliga. So, last one, Frankfurt against Bremen. Again, you go for goals.
Slim win for Eintracht Frankfurt. They're playing home.
Yeah,
in that
at home.
game. Probably 2-1. 1-0, something like that. Whether Bremen are a good side, but I think that Frankfurt we just have a little more for them.
Okay, so that's our wrap on our weekend, look into the various fixtures and what's happening or what will be happening. It's actually starting today in the German Bundesliga. Bayern Munich will take on RB Leipzig. Also in the English Premier League this evening at exactly, I think 7, right? Yeah, Chelsea will be traveling all the way to the London Stadium to take on West Ham United, Graham Potter's side. Then on Saturday, lots of games in the English Premier League. City early kickoff against Tottenham Hotspur. Arsenal will take on Leeds on Sunday. Manchester United will take on Fulham on Monday. Newcastle at the St. Jesus Park welcome Liverpool. In the La Liga, Elche will travel all the way to the capital to take on Atletico Madrid at the Wanda Metropolitana. Barcelona, their first 3 games are on the road. So they've done, Mallorca, they'll be doing Levante, and they also do Real Sociedad. But on Saturday, they will be taking on Levante. Real Madrid on Sunday will take on Real Oviedo, newly promoted Real Oviedo, also on the road. In the Italian Serie A as well, some of the big games, Atalanta will take on Pisca, Inter Milan will take on Torino, Sassuolo will welcome Napoli, AC Milan will take on Camoranesi as well. Again, this is Sport 101. Make sure if you've not subscribed to this channel, trust me, you're missing out. Top-notch quality content right here on Sport 101. Make sure you click on any of the videos, so you can enjoy some of the content out there. Subscribe to our channel, Sport 101, on Facebook, Sport 101, and on TikTok, Sport 101 Live. This has been our weekend preview. So if you want more exciting videos from Sport 101, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click on the videos you see on the screen.